And we're live.
Okay, very good. We'll now resume our regular council meeting. There was no report coming back from closed session, so we will move into our public meeting. Council, I'll need a resolution to open up the public meeting. Deputy Mayor Graham and Councillor Moore. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
And Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. Our next item, 7.2, report planning 2021-09, 1748 Sire Line, Doherty zoning bylaw amendment. Ms. Ellis and Ms. Coulter are listed, but I believe Mr. Connolly is presenting, or maybe it's all three.
Actually, through your worship, to council, it'll be Karen Ellis.
All right, Ms. Ellis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor McFadden, Deputy Mayor Graham, members of council, members of the public and staff. Today's public meeting is about an existing property at 1748 Sire Line and part of Lot 23, Concession 8 of the Cavan Morgue. If, Bridget, I'm not sure who is doing the scrolling on the agenda, but if you could scroll down to the key map, I would appreciate that so that everybody can see the location of the property that we're talking about today. Excellent, thank you. The property is an existing lot of record that's about 0.584 hectares or 1.44 acres in size, and it has just about 38 meters or 125 feet of frontage on Sire Line. This property, as I've said, is an existing lot of record, and it's developed with a single detached dwelling, an accessory garage, a swimming pool, and another accessory building that has been used in the recent past for a dance studio. The dance studio was permitted through a previous zoning bylaw amendment for the property. The zoning bylaw amendment that is being considered by council today at the public meeting is required because there is a new owner of the property who wishes to change the dance studio use to a martial arts studio. So as drafted, the zoning on the property will be maintained as the Hamlet Residential Exception 5 zone. So the mapping will change, but the text part of the Hamlet Residential Exception 5 will change a little bit, with the definition of a dance studio being removed, the permitted use of a dance studio being removed, and it will be replaced with a martial arts studio and with a new definition for a martial arts studio. As defined in the draft bylaw, a martial arts studio will be a space where physical fitness and recreational equipment and/or instruction is provided for hire or gain, particularly in the arts of Muay Thai, kickboxing, and boxing. As I've indicated, the regulations in terms of the maximum floor area devoted to the martial arts studio will remain the same at 200 square meters, or just over 2,100 square feet. The maximum number of employees permitted who do not reside on the property will be 2. The maximum number of parking space, or the minimum number of parking spaces, which is 15, will be required. The minimum setback of the parking area from the adjacent residential zones will continue to be 3 meters. The requirement for a planting strip of 1.5 meters will remain. There is an exemption for loading spaces. There is a minimum front yard setback of 8.68 meters and a minimum interior side yard setback for the existing accessory building of 1.25 meters. As I've indicated, these regulations, accepting the dance studio use and the definition of a dance studio, are all remaining the same. As required by the Planning Act, notice of the application was provided to all assessed persons within 120 meters of the subject property, to all required ministries and agencies, to all township department head staff. We also posted a sign on the property. So the notice does meet the requirements of the Planning Act. Based on that circulation, planning staff have confirmed that township staff have no objection to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Enbridge Gas and Peterborough Public Health have also indicated that they have no objection. County Public Works Department have no comments on the application. Public comments received included questions from a couple of neighbors about the permitted uses, about the parking area, and the planting strip requirements. One neighbor has also requested a privacy fence. Township staff felt that there was some legitimacy to that request, and they put the neighbors in touch with one another. So that would be the neighbor requesting the fence and the applicant for the application today. And we believe that they are working cooperatively to come to some resolution on how best to deal with the issue of the headlights coming from the parking lot into the adjacent lands. So based on the information before planning staff today, we are of the opinion that the application conforms to the township's official plan, satisfies the general policies of the county official plan, is consistent with the policies of the provincial policy statement, and supports the policies of the growth plan. Based on this review, the recommendation to council today is that a draft bylaw be presented to council at a future date for consideration.
Very good. Any questions from members of council before we proceed to the public? Councillor Huntley.
Through you, Chair. I don't understand why we're being so prescriptive in what can be done there. Like if we're moving from a dance studio to a martial arts studio, you know, and we're dropping the designation of dance. I mean, if this thing changes hands in a few years and wants to be a dance studio again, we got to go through this whole process again. Like why don't we just, you know, move it to a studio where, you know, recreation and you know, sort of physical activity can take place and not restrict it the way we seem to be restricting it. I mean, there could even be other types of martial arts, and we're not. I just don't understand why we're putting such restrictions on it in the word.
Through you, Mayor McFadden, to members of council. I think when the original dance studio zoning bylaw was applied for and approved by council, we are in a hamlet designation and the property was zoned hamlet residential. The dance studio use was seen as a broader home occupation type of business. So I think at the time we were reluctant to open it up wider, and that's why there was specific permitted use and a definition attached to that. That specific use and the specific requirements were intended to ensure compatibility with the existing residential uses in the area. I do hear what you're saying, and I think we did have some conversation at the time when the property was changing hands and felt that a rezoning was appropriate in this case. But if it's council's direction, when the draft bylaw comes back at a future date, it can certainly be a little bit broader in terms of the permitted use, the non-residential permitted use.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. I'd be more comfortable with it being a broader definition. For sure.
Councillor Moore.
Yes, I just want to second that. I agree totally with Ryan. We're making it all too small, and it's just going to come back if anybody changes hands. Or I think just narrowing it down to one thing is getting a bit silly. I think he's got the right idea.
Very good. I agree with you completely as well. So we can use that wording with when it comes back. Any other questions, comments from members of council before I open it up to the public? Seeing none. All right, I will turn it over to the public. If there's anybody wishing to speak specifically to this application, please raise your hand. There are 2 attendees currently. If either of you wish to speak, raise your hand or identify. We can move you into the, provide you the opportunity to speak. Take a little bit extra time just in case someone's trying to figure out how to raise their hand. If you are on a phone, you use *9 to raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, then I will come back to council then for consideration. I had the same concern, so I think I think there's 2 issues here. One, dealing with a specific application, and number 2, the application sort of moving forward to broaden the scope in situations where fundamentally the overall use isn't changing. In other words, there's no additional impacts to public health and the septic, or there's no traffic implications, or there's nothing outside that typically would require a rezoning. If we could take a look at somehow broadening it, and there certainly would be other uses to it. And as we've stated before, there's certainly opportunities out there that exist now that didn't exist a year or 10 years ago that we want to ensure. For example, if they decided they wanted to open up a Zoom room, a year ago that didn't make any sense, but in today's application, it may very well be something that would come forward. And if there already, there is no specific implications with regard to parking or septic or public works, et cetera, it should be broad enough that we're not being a hindrance to bringing forward these opportunities in the township and requiring a rezoning. So I did hear Councillor Huntley and Councillor Moore loud and clear, and I completely agree with them. Any other members of council wishing to speak? The report is up for consideration, which would be to receive the report, accept that recommendation to bring it back, specifically with the modification to be more broad in the specific zoning, i.e. not remove the dance. Ms. Ellis, do you need any further direction specific to the word broad? You need it to be more precise in broad, or just?
Through you, Mayor McFadden, to members of council. Maybe if you could provide a little parameter for me, because we do, the official plan does permit small scale commercial and industrial uses in the hamlet area. So I think I have a sense of that you're looking for broader uses in terms of a recreational nature, but not necessarily opening it up to commercial kind of things. Am I reading you correctly? Like, you don't envision having a retail store in this location, or do you?
I would say that I would think that would be different if like just a
that
retail store, i.e. like a convenience store. I would see that as being more of it, but I think that would be covered off maybe on the traffic side. I'm not sure, but I would think if someone proposed a massage room or chiropractor, or for that matter, like a Zoom room, and today I wouldn't see that necessarily you'd need to do a rezoning, but I could see definitely if you're trying to open up a corner store or something more retail in and out, that's going to create a traffic issue. So I guess we're looking to you and sort of put that lens on it. Councillor Huntley, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I mean, through you, Chair. I mean, it's kind of a recreational studio space. So I think, activities that could fit within a studio space. I mean, it could be anything from yoga to
yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think we have sufficient direction now to try and create a bylaw that satisfies, or what's the word I'm looking for? Satisfies their direction today.
Yeah, it can be tricky. I mean, because you can have dance studio, but by no means are we suggesting opening up a nightclub and a dance studio like that. So hours of operation or something, but yeah, it certainly is a hindrance for them to have to come back to do rezoning with a specific use between those two. But at the same time, I don't think council is interested in opening it wide open to all
disco.
Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing further, then I would entertain a motion then to receive that report, accept the recommendation before us. We have Councillor Moore and Councillor Belch. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
And Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Our next item is Report Planning 2021-10, 162 County Road 28, Sanford Zoning Bylaw Amendment. Ms. Ellis?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor McFadden. And thank you, technological assistant, for going to the key map. I appreciate it. The item on our public meeting agenda today is for a property located at 162 County Road 28 and part of Lot 23, Concession 1 of the Cavan Ward. The zoning bylaw amendment being considered by council today is required to fulfill a condition of severance applications B-42-20 and B-43-20. The severance applications were approved by Peterborough County with the condition that the severed and retained lots be rezoned to the satisfaction of the township. You can see on the key map that the severed lots are denoted with the letters A and B. The retained lot is identified with the letter C. Lot A is about 2,100 square meters, or just over half an acre in size, and it has frontage of just about 31.96 meters or 104.85 feet. That property is currently vacant. Lot B is just over 2,100 square meters in size, or 0.5 acres. It has frontage of approximately 48 meters or 157.6 feet. This property is also vacant. The retained lot, denoted by the letter C, is 15.4 hectares in size with frontage of 289 meters or 948 feet of frontage on County Road 28. This lot is currently developed with a single detached dwelling with an attached garage and an uninsulated barn. The property is serviced with private well and septic systems. As drafted, the zoning bylaw amendment will change the zoning on the severed lots, denoted by A and B, from the agricultural zone to the Hamlet residential exception 18 zone. In the Hamlet residential exception 18 zone, a single detached dwelling will be permitted on the lot with a minimum lot area requirement of 2,100 square meters and a minimum lot frontage requirement of 19.4 meters. All other standard regulations of the Hamlet residential zone will apply to these lots. The retained lot, denoted by the letter C, will be rezoned from the agricultural zone to the agricultural exception 17 zone, and it will recognize a minimum lot area requirement of 15.3 hectares. So just to be clear for everyone participating in today's meeting, this zoning bylaw amendment will affect 2 lots created by severance plus the retained lot. There is no plan of subdivision application involved with this zoning bylaw amendment application. Notice of this application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. So we circulated to all assessed persons within 120 meters of the subject properties. We posted a sign on the property. We mailed notices to the ministries and agencies and emailed where appropriate. We circulated to all township management staff, and the notices were posted on the township website. Township staff have no objections to the zoning bylaw amendment. Public Works staff did request that blocks 25 and 28, which are 0.3 meter reserves, that they be assumed into the township road system. We also learned that block 24, which is like the hammerhead of the cul-de-sac, has not been assumed into the township road system at this time. So a draft bylaw has been prepared and is attached to the report to assume 3 of those blocks into the township road system. Enbridge Gas and Peterborough Public Health have no objections. And Peterborough County Public Works confirmed that the existing entrance from County Road 28 to the retained parcel meets the requirements for an entrance under the county's entrance bylaw, and no entrance permit is required. We did get several public comments on this application resulting from the circulation. So the owners at 170 County Road 28 provided the staff with an email that they've moved to the county to enjoy the acreage they have and privacy. They were opposed to the zoning bylaw amendment and any residential development near their property. A follow-up submission indicated they have a better understanding of what the rezoning will permit, and they are no longer opposed. The landowners at 178 County Road 28 opposed the rezoning. They moved here 30 years ago. They're not impressed with the subdivision because every time a well was drilled, they lost their water, and it takes a considerable amount of time to recover. The owners at 174 County Road 28 have owned their property since March of 2017. They've moved here to enjoy the country life and have put a lot of money into renovating their farmhouse, planning it as a retirement home. They oppose the zoning bylaw amendment near their property, and they have asked to participate in the meeting today. So if they are attending and are planning to participate, they may offer further comments for council's information. Lastly, the application conforms to the township and county official plans. It's consistent with the policies of the provincial policy statement and supports the policies of the growth plan. Thus, staff recommend that a draft bylaw be presented to council at a future date for consideration. And with the zoning bylaw amendment will come the bylaw for the assumption of blocks 24, 25, and 28 of Plan 9M736 into the township road system. And that's it.
Very good. Questions from members of council? Okay, I did have a couple. Just for clarification, so on the completion of that hammerhead, because it's moving down, is that going to be completed to the level of the municipality? Typically, when we go out and deal with those roundabouts for the turning, for the plows, etc., they are done in asphalt. Is that the expectation that this will be done at the same time?
Through you, Mayor McFadden, to members of council, I am not aware that there's any improvements to the hammerhead required. Public Works, I believe, did not provide any comments in that respect during the severance application review or the rezoning review. However, Evan may wish to speak to that on behalf of the Public Works Department.
Go ahead, Evan.
Through you, Mayor, to you, Mayor. So there is an existing cul-de-sac already at that location, so there is no improvements needed There won't be any work done to the actual cul-de-sac itself. I think in the report, Karen just explained that I think that portion of the road was never properly assumed when the subdivision was done back in the 80s.
Okay, so back to my point then. So this hasn't been assumed yet. So as part of the completion of this, is that going to be completed to the standard that we require everybody else when we're doing the turnarounds?
It's already done. It was done back when the subdivision was built. We just never assumed that part.
No, I understand that part, but I'm saying we haven't assumed it. And so that of today's standards for the turnarounds, normally it is asphalt specifically.
It is an asphalt, full asphalt cul-de-sac.
And is there curbs to be cut out for the entrance?
No, there's
nothing.
There is no curbs at that location.
Very good.
It's a rural cross section, so it's just the ditches.
Perfect. Okay, that answers the question. And with regards specifically to the official plan, when we did the rounding out of the hamlet, we specifically went straight across. So at this point now, this is extending beyond the what had been designated for the hamlet. So I know we did put a lot of time into consideration with regards specifically to the rounding out. So now this is rounded out. So now you've got an odd shape going out beyond the extension of that hamlet. So is this the beginning of another scope creep when we bring it back the OP? Because now to do another rounding out, now you're going to end up with more of the retained lot if you're going to round it out that is now considered part of the hamlet, in which case does that open the opportunity for more lots? Or is there something to put in place to say, okay, this is it, we've extended it beyond the hamlet, but there will be no more?
Through you, Mayor McFadden, to members of council, members of the public, the severed lots A and B are located primarily in the hamlet designation that was put in place with the completion and adoption and approval of the township's official plan. A small portion of the lots is located outside the hamlet boundary, that is true. But if you remember when we talked about the severance applications and the interpretation of the official plan, that designation boundaries are by their very nature somewhat flexible unless they follow a road, a railway, a stream, etc. So we use that interpretation clause to permit or to support the creation of the two severed lots. That will finish the hamlet designation in that location. So at this point in time, there will be no further development potential of a non-farm residential nature located at the end of Kelman Drive. Having said that, we are in the throes, as you know, of doing a new official plan with Peterborough County. And as part of that work, the county is embarking on growth management work, which will then lead into how much growth gets allocated to Cavan Monaghan Township. And then we will have to go through the process at the township level of where do we want that growth to occur. So it's not impossible that there may be some growth allocated to Baileyborough. It's not, we have no preconceived notion at this point in time where that growth might be allocated. So, but right now these two lots will finish the hamlet designation in place today.
So whereabouts is the line drawn with regards to when would you need to bring forward a subdivision application? The addition of 2 does not trigger it. However, if we're going through another rounding exercise and 2 more lots or 3 more lots are available as part of that rounding exercise, how long can you continue to add 2 and 3 without going through the specific process that everybody else is going through?
Through you, Mayor McFadden, to members of council, I think these lots were created because of the hamlet designation did extend a little bit beyond the end of the subdivision. Moving forward, it's not our intention to permit creep in the hamlet designation at the end of roads. So there is policies that if you're looking at more than 4 severance applications, you need to do a plan of subdivision. It's something that we will look at in terms of how we designate and what we designate in the new official plan. I think Public Works Department together with the Planning Department will want to look at potential road patterns moving forward so that if we do identified areas for potential growth in the hamlet, that they can be properly designed and serviced for the long term.
Okay, I guess my concern is that 4 would have triggered it. We've added 2. If 2 more get added at the next iteration as part of this rounding out exercise, that essentially they've now they're up to 4 and they haven't had to complete a subdivision application. When we initially straightened those lines, it was a result of trying to round out and straighten them up. But we certainly didn't have any discussions at that time relative to having 2 more homes at the end. Lot B, if the drawing is to scale, half the lot is outside of it. So I understand that it's adding a bit more, but now it's no longer straight, and the rounding out exercise potentially could round it out again, which would add a significant amount closer to the 28 all along there, straighten it out, which does add significant opportunity to add additional lots. So it's just, if we are following a process, just staying under 4 and continually adding onto it is sort of bypassing it. So is there any way to include those 2 lots moving forward? If 2 more are added, then now it's to be considered a subdivision, or they can continue to do this creeping of additional lots as long as they stay under 4.
Through you, to members of council, members of staff in the gallery. So with the approval, the conditional approval of lots A and B, the hamlet designation in Bailey Borough in this location will be exhausted. There is no more potential to create any more lots under the current official plan designation. So moving forward with a new official plan, we will look at it in its entirety together with council and the public, because it is a public process. And if additional lands are deemed to be suitable for the hamlet designation at that time, we can certainly look at a policy framework that requires development in a hamlet designation, anything more than 1 lot, if that's what you deem appropriate to be done by plan of subdivision.
Okay, yeah.
But just to be clear, we are done in this location at this point in time with this designation.
Yeah, I guess my concern was when we rounded it out, it was never the intention to put 2 lots on the end. If you take a look at B, half the lot wasn't there. So these have come forward, and if we're straightening it out, it is going to put more lands back into the hamlet if we are going to, in effect, straighten it out. So although it was a public discussion, there was never ever a public discussion with regards to adding 2 lots on the end during the official plan. It was more of a rounding out exercise, which has led to 2 more lots being added on to the end. So I would just like something put in there to stop the scope creep, and for if it's to take place, and it needs to follow the public process that all the other subdivisions take. You can't continue to add less than 4 lots onto the end each iteration of an official plan. Deputy Mayor Graham.
Thanks, and through you, Mayor. On a similar vein, I guess my question is, it seems like a bit of an anomaly that there was these, let's call them half lots, left in when the original hamlet boundary was established. Is that sort of an outlier circumstance? Because to the mayor's point, I mean, if we're gonna draw a line, you know, I won't say arbitrarily, but you know, somewhat arbitrarily, but we decide to leave these little gaps in. Obviously, you know, the public input, it's going to be tough to catch some sort of slight opportunities like this one that we're now dealing with now. And I don't necessarily have a problem with this, but to the mayor's point, if we're drawing straight lines where, you know, straight lines might not be accurate or have big implications, like the addition of 2 more residences, I think that, you know, that's certainly not a best practice for being clear about the public input for those individuals going to be directly affected. So is that sort of just an anomaly, or how can we improve moving forward when we're reestablishing these sort of hamlet areas, that the lines are drawn in a way to prevent this sort of creep from occurring again, and then losing the public input on that, you know, when it's mostly, you know, when we're receiving it?
Through you, Mayor McFadden, to Deputy Mayor Graham and members of council. Just to be clear, there is public input allowed in the creation of new severed lots. It is a public process. Notice of those applications does get circulated, signs get posted. So there is public process to allow members of the public to provide comment about that. I cannot answer your question, Deputy Mayor Graham, about are there other instances in Cavan-Honnigan Township right now where the hamlet designation goes beyond the limit of the last lot. I can certainly have a look at that and get back to you to provide that information. I can tell you that it is standard practice in my experience to have a policy in the official plan that permits official plan designations to be a little bit flexible unless they are bounded by a road, a railway, or a watercourse. So it's something that we can look at moving forward in the development of the new official plan. If you deem it appropriate to clip everything at the last lot, that can be done.
I think the concern is, so at this point in time, we have an A and B on the map. if the lines are straightened out, it's going to go straight between A and B at the bottom, which gives you half a lot again, to which you can apply this same principle, and then you'll end up with a C, even though there was never a public discussion at the time of rounding out of a C lot. It could be brought forward and argued that we're now extending that out further, even though it would go into the beyond the hamlet designation. And now you've got a third lot that essentially has been created because we've rounded off 2 lots in the original OP 2 times before. So I think that in essence is it, because now we no longer have a straight line, and to straighten it potentially creates another lot.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mayor McFadden, I'm not following exactly, but.
So if you see A and B on the map, so we've got the key map in front of us.
Yes.
And see how the white and the gray between A and B is halfway across A and B?
Yes.
In the next official plan, if you connect A and B across the bottom through the gray, so that it's a straight line.
Yes.
Now you've got part of a lot now in the hamlet designation, and you're going to, the applicant could use the same argument that it's not going to follow, that you can extend the designations as part of the exercise and create another lot between A and B that's now at the end of it. So now you've now got 3 lots, just as a simple example of how they can continue this addition of further lots beyond what was the original scope. So we started off with half of a lot on A and B, could end up being 3 different lots in the subdivision.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay. All right. Any further questions, comments before I turn it over to the, Councillor Moore, did I see a hand go up? Hand go down. Hand go up. Councillor Moore, go ahead. You're on mute, Councillor Moore.
Through you, Chair. I don't really have a problem with this. I don't see it any different than just infill. Like, we did worse than this in Ida when we let the 2 lots go across the other side of the road. Like, this is just infilling what's already existing from what I see. I might be wrong, but I don't see it that far out of line.
I don't think
you're going back to the.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I know you're going back to when it was originally done, but it's 2 lots sitting there of no other value, really.
Correct. I don't think the deputy mayor and I have a specific issue with this, what's before us today, and A and a B. It's not that. It's, if we're going to continually round it out, is there a point in time where it ends? Because if the goal here is to continue adding 2 every official plan, then there would have been a process to follow, which is a plan of subdivision, as opposed to continually adding 2 onto the end of the road, which totally bypasses around the policy that everybody else has to follow. So I don't have an issue with A and B that's being proposed today. It's where is the end, because there's an awful lot of land around that for this to continue. And if it is a plan of subdivision that is to be brought forward, then the entire plan should be brought forward, as opposed to just doing 2 at a time.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from.
Okay.
Like I just think it's okay.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Well, I think it's just through you, Mayor. It's just an application. If you were on the other side of the line, you wouldn't have this possibility. And so I think it's about the consideration of a fair application. I mean, there's lots of issues with regards to severances and lot creation. And unfortunately, the municipality's pretty bound and pretty restricted as to what we can and cannot do. So I don't have a problem with the way that this is structured, and I understand it. It's just a matter of the rules can work in the favor of this circumstance for these lot creations. It's just about, how many compromises in this specific regard are we going to make? Because, as the mayor said, if you're not doing a plan of subdivision, to just create 2 lots at a time means you're up to a much lower standard and an eligibility that you otherwise wouldn't be able to access, or anyone else outside of a hamlet designation wouldn't have that same, eligibility for. So it's about fairness, I think, in that regard. But also, if we're going to be drawing lines or expanding areas for development, we sort of have to follow those rules as we set them out. And obviously with the OP and the establishment of new, infill areas, then, that'll be a new consideration there. But, we drew the line, in I think it was 2015 when the map was drafted, if I'm not mistaken by the date on the bottom. But anyways, I just don't want it to be, that line was drawn with all of the input and all of the planning decisions to draw it. And, you know, when we make those exceptions, in this case, you know, obviously it makes a lot of sense, but if we're going to continue to compromise in that regard, then the line sort of loses its intention, and those on the wrong side of it are left out.
If I may, Mayor McFadden, just to offer up some further information. In this particular case, the severances were allowed to proceed because we did have an existing road with road frontage, with a road that was already built. So in other instances, it may be required that a road needs to be extended. And so in those particular cases, you're more likely to get a plan of subdivision application if there is development potential in that area. So all the stars seem to line up in this particular location in terms of the designation, the fact that we had an existing road that is a public road that had a bulb that was wide enough that we could create the two lots. So, but we will have a look at the mapping for sure and flag that as we move forward with the development of the new official plan.
Very good. Excellent. Thanks, Ms. Ellis. Any other questions from members of council before I open it up to the public? If not, seeing none, there are a couple individuals in the public. If you wish to speak, raise your hand. We'll let you in to ask your question. I'll give you a little bit to find the raise hand. There we go. Okay, I have Simmons. Go ahead. Just state your name and your address.
Yeah, hi, this is Sean Sanford. My wife is Jamie Simmons. We're the owners of the property. I just have some notes that basically echo Karen's comments. First of all, we're in favor of the application. Both lots have been created in conformity with the applicable policies. Both lots have been granted conditional approval at the end of Calman Drive, and both are within the hamlet boundary, conform to the official plan. I also want to assure people that there is no plan for subdivision whatsoever. These two lots are the end of the development. There's a rumor going around that there is a subdivision that I think has gotten a few people upset, but there's no subdivision planned.
Very good. Thank you very much for the clarification. Anybody else wishing to speak? I'll give you a bit. Okay. Seeing none then, okay, then it's back to council then for consideration. Any other questions, concerns, comments relative to the application? If not, there is a recommendation before us. Receive the report, accept the recommendation. Deputy Mayor Graham and Councillor Moore. Any further comment on that? If not, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
And Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Motion is approved. So now going back, I will need a resolution to close the public meeting. We have Councillor Huntley and Councillor Belch. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Sorry about that. Man's got away on me there. Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
And Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Okay, with that, with those being done, I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll come back. There is no delegation, so we'll jump right into the minutes.
You feel better.
All right, how's everybody?
Good.
Okay. We got Ryan, we got Councillor Huntley, Councillor Belch, Councillor Moore, Councillor Graham, I think. So that's odd. Councillor Graham's video is on, but the screen is black. Oh, it's off. There he is. Okay. It's interesting. It didn't say Councillor Graham or Matthew Graham on your screen. It was just all black. But there you are. Okay, Madam Clerk, are we ready to resume?
I, through you, Mayor McFadden, confirm that Deputy Mayor Graham can hear us and communicate. Unfortunately, there was sound coming, so I did mute his mic. So I just want to make sure that we have his ability to hear us and communicate.
No, nope, there you go. He just messaged us and he can see us, but he cannot hear us. He still can't hear us. Okay, maybe if he disconnects.
Just sent him a question through Mayor McFadden to turn on his mic. Is that working?
No, his mic is turned on, but he can't hear us either. So I'd suggest I'll just message him right now to disconnect and reconnect right from scratch.
Okay. Councillor Belch, can you hear us and communicate?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Any better, Deputy Mayor Graham? He has disconnected. Okay, so he's disconnecting. He's going to reconnect. Deputy Mayor Graham is reconnected. Is he there? You can hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And we can hear you.
Bizarre, apologies. Yeah.
Okay, moving then there is no delegations. Item 9.1 minutes of the regular council meeting held March 15th, 2021. Any questions from members of council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt those minutes. We got Councillor Belch and Deputy Mayor Graham. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next item, 9.2 minutes of the special council meeting held March 25th, 2021. Motion for those minutes. Deputy Mayor Graham, Councillor Huntley, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. Minutes from committees and boards. Item 10.1, Millbrook Valley Trails meeting minutes, March 22nd, 2021. Motion for those minutes. Deputy Mayor Graham, seconder. Councillor Huntley, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
And Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Motion is approved. I'll do the next 2 minutes together. The Cabin Monaghan Library Public Library Board meeting minutes of January 19th and February 16th. Motion to receive those minutes. Councillor Moore and Deputy Mayor Graham. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Moving along, item 11.1 under reports. Report Planning 2021-12, Glenn and Catherine Sakooth, Environmental Impact Mitigation Measures Agreement regarding application B-67-20, and Miss Ellis.
Mayor McFadden, members of council, staff, and members of the public. Planning Report 2021-12 is before you today with the recommendation that bylaw number 2021-19, authorizing the mayor and interim clerk to sign the Environmental Impact Mitigation Measures Agreement between Glenn and Catherine Sakooth and the Corporation of the Township of Cabin Monaghan be approved. This agreement is a condition of the severance, and I believe it's the last condition to be satisfied.
Very good. Questions from any members of council? Seeing none, motion then to receive that report and accept the recommendation. Councillor Huntley and Councillor Moore. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next, item 11.2, report planning 2021-11, Nina Court, Coldbrook Drive, property transfer. Ms. Ellis and possibly Mr. Grieger. Who wants to take this one?
Mayor McFadden, I'll start and Evan can assist as required.
Very good.
Okay. Mayor McFadden, members of council, members of the public and staff, Planning Report 2021 is before you today with two recommendations. Firstly, that bylaw number 2021-18 be approved to stop up and close a portion of Nina Court described as Block 20, Plan 9M-733, and to authorize the transfer of Block 19, which is a 0.3 meter reserve, and Block 20, Plan 9M-733 to Veltri & Son Limited and its nominee. And secondly, that bylaw number 2021-18 be approved, well, that should be 19, to change the name of Part 17 on the draft R plan from Century Boulevard to Coldbrook Drive.
Very good. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none. Okay, motion to receive the report and accept the recommendation. Councillor Huntley. And Councillor Moore. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
And Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. Next item is item 11.3, report finance 2021-06, asset management planning updates and amended timelines. Ms. Pope.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the Mayor to Council, we just have an update for you on the Ministry of Infrastructure timeline changes. Originally, there was a report due July 1st, 2021, but the ministry has come out with extensions of 1 year on phases 2 through 4. So you'll see in the future timelines listed below, July 1st, 2022, 2024, and 2025. And this is just for information purposes.
Very good. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none, motion then to receive that report. Councillor Belch, Deputy Mayor Graham, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
And Councillor Huntley.
He's on mute.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Thank you, Ms. Pope. Next item is 11.4, report CAO 2021 report and capital project status. Any questions for Ms. Hurley on the report before us? I have a couple items. Seeing none, nobody else. Okay. One would be just a funding status update, Ms. Pope, on funding opportunities, that we've applied for and where we are on them just over the course of the last year. With the pandemic being upon us, there has been a number of opportunities that have come out that we have applied for. And I think just to summarize it for council, A, of the ones we've applied for, B, the ones that we have been successful on, C, the ones that we're maybe still waiting for, and D, the ones that we're in the process of applying for, because there has been numerous applications, and I know that myself included, there is some confusion as to which ones already closed, which ones are still open, and which ones we have gotten. So I think it'll be a good news story with relative to the funding that we have gotten. Ms. Pope, is there any questions on the request?
No, Mayor, definitely through you to council, I can definitely provide you a report with that update at the next meeting and give you those details that you've requested.
Super. Okay, very good. With council's permission then, I'll put forward a motion just to provide that report. We got Deputy Mayor Graham, seconded. Councillor Moore, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Very good. Motion is approved. Second request would be to direct staff to pull the background information that's already been completed on the Class EA environmental assessment that was done in Fraserville, to provide council with an update on what the current status is of that sewage treatment plan proposal is. I know it was a plan from a long time ago, but I think it would be appropriate, especially given the state with doing our master servicing plan, to pull that information off to make it available to council to bring back a report with an update on that. So if I've got the support of my fellow councillors, I'd introduce that as a motion done. Deputy Mayor Graham, Councillor Belch, have I got that a second there?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
All right, unless there's any question. Oh, Ms. Hurley.
Just for clarification, sir, so you're just asking for the background information on the EA sewage treatment plant that went forward. I mean, obviously the status of it is it didn't go forward, but you're looking for the background works on that?
Yes, and the current status, is it in order, if it was to be reviewed as part of our master servicing plan, is there a significant amount of work that would need to be done? Is there something that needs to be pulled off with minimal amount of studies that would need to take place? In other words, what's the status? It's retired and it's done, and it would have to be started all over again if you wish to review that plan.
Okay, so I just want clarification in the aspect that you mentioned the master servicing plan. So the master servicing plan the terms of reference did not speak to that or review that portion, but I just want to make that clear. It's a separate proposal,
yes.
But we can pull the background information with regards to the EA and the servicing or the treatment plant that was being proposed in Fraserville. Is that what you're speaking of?
Correct. Yeah, it wasn't part of the original proposal for the master servicing plan to pull all of this off, but as part of the consideration, we're looking at the master servicing plan, but I think we should also take a look at what the works that have already been done relative to the class environmental assessment that was done for that and what would be involved if it was to come forward.
Okay, so maybe we'll just keep it simple and just in the aspect of pull the background information on the Class EA for Fraserville.
Very good. I'm pretty confident that's what our clerk had written down as part of the motion.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. All right, we've got to move in our mover and a seconder. If there's no further questions, then Madam Clerk, call for a recorded vote.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
And Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Is there any other item specifically to this list? A for questions or B for further discussion? If not, then just a motion to receive that capital project status report. Motion. Deputy Mayor Graham. Councillor Huntley, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
And Mayor McFadden.
Yes, motion is approved. Now, next we have council committee verbal reports. I'll just go around. Councillor Moore.
Just the library, they have the library board, they have 3 takeaways. Just that they want you to know that they compare positively to other libraries of similar size, but according to the library survey data, they're working on positive code of conduct for the public to support the safety of their patrons and staff. And Facebook continues to have a high engagement of numbers.
Okay, very good. Councillor Huntley.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, Councillor Belch.
Nothing at this time. Next meeting for Janaraska is probably the 17th, 18th of April.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Graham.
Just the only note being that there was our the ever-present or the ever-recurring seasonal closure of a lot of the trail network of Millbrook Valley trails due to the thaw and obviously the the treacherous conditions as the last of that ice melts and then the mud is present for a little while. We're hoping that this closure, by executing it at the start of last or the end of last week, that I know that there's a lack of things to do, and that getting out and utilizing the trails is something that everyone really wants to. We're hoping that the weather's been fairly favorable this spring, so we're hoping that this strategic closure can be as short-lived as possible to allow the trails to sort of recover and be ready for all the foot traffic I'm sure they're going to see in the rest of the spring. So just heed those. There is new signage up indicating that which trails are closed, and please just try to follow those when possible, and we'll get you back on there soon as it's safe.
Very good. I think I've gone around everybody. The one last item that I wanted to bring forward is just an update with regards to our policing task force. So at this stage, we've at the last council meeting, we had the presentation from the OPP. Likewise, we'd like to have the same information from the city police, and they require a motion of our council to make that request. So I'd like to put forward a motion to direct staff to request on behalf of council for the city to prepare a proposal for policing services. Councilor Graham, Councilor Huntley, any questions on that one? No. Okay, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Mayor McFadden?
Yes.
Councilor Huntley?
Yes.
Councilor Belch?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Anything else, any further questions on anything that's been reported? If not, then just a motion to receive those verbal reports. Mayor Graham, Councilor Belch, Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Councilor Belch?
Yes.
Councilor Huntley?
Yes.
Mayor McFadden?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next item is, I just want to make sure I don't miss any.
General business.
General business. And Ms. Hurley, I believe you have an update.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let council and the public know that we did receive confirmation today pertaining to the Peterborough Public Health, that the CMCC will be hosting vaccination clinics on April the 26th, April 27th, and April 28th. And if you would like to book a vaccination, obviously you still go onto the PPH website. It'll guide you through that process, and you will now see Cavan Monaghan Community Center there as one of the locations for one of those dates.
Very good. It's great news. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none, that was just an informational item. We don't need a motion. That's fine. Okay, there is no correspondence for information, no correspondence for action. So we'll move into the bylaws then. And I just wanted to double check. Ms. Ellis, are you still there? Yes. You did make a correction with regards to that one when you were speaking. One was 18, one should have been 19. So before I pass the bylaw, I just want to confirm that one is marked 18. Is that fine?
Through you, Mayor McFadden, to members of council, there should be bylaw 2021-18 and 2021-19.
So as written, it's fine.
As written, it's fine.
Perfect. Yes. Okay, excellent. Very good. So being a bylaw to stop up and close a portion of Nina Court described as Block 20, Plan 9M-733, and to authorize the transfer of Block 19 and Block 20, Plan 9M-733 to Veltri and Son Limited and its nominee, and to rename a portion of Century Boulevard, and bylaw number 2021-19 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an environmental impact mitigation measures agreement between Glenn and Catherine Sakuth and the Corporation of the Township of Cavan Monaghan. You read a first, second, third time signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the corporate still attached part 2. Moved by Deputy Mayor Graham, seconded by Councillor Huntley. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Very good. Motion is approved. There is no unfinished business. Any notices of motion? None. And confirming bylaw being bylaw number 2021-20, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting held April 6, 2021, be read for a second, third time, signed by the mayor and the clerk and the corporate secretary. Moved by Councillor Moore and Councillor Belch. Madam Clerk, recorded.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Okay, I got Councillor Huntley and Councillor Moore. Madam Clerk, recorded vote.
Mayor McFadden.
Yes.
Councillor Huntley.
Yes.
Councillor Belch.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Graham.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Meeting is adjourned. We do have some upcoming meetings. Cabamount Public Library Board meeting Tuesday, April 20th at 7 o'clock via Zoom. And that is it. Is there any other upcoming meetings that should be on here? Question to all of council or members of staff.
Probably the Ganaraska, which is usually the third Thursday of the month. So
very good. Excellent. If nothing else, then that was it. Thanks, everybody.